You're listening to the God Life Culture podcast, where faith
and what's trending
collide.
Welcome back to the latest episode of the God Life Culture podcast. This is Eddie.
What's up, everyone? This is Miguel, and we are so thankful that you are connected to our podcast. We have a great episode in store today, but we want to remind you to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when we drop a new episode. Don't forget to leave that rating, to leave that review. It helps put our podcast in front of more listeners. So we are just so excited that you're listening to this episode, whether you're on your way to work, on your way to school, if you're chilling at your house. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, so Miguel, how has your day been? What are you looking forward to? What are you excited about on this day?
Yeah, I mean, the weather's getting nice. I feel like we're always talking about the weather, but we're in that season where it is getting nicer out. So I just think that overall just affects your mood and brightens it up. So definitely excited about that. I've been excited these last few weeks because there has been some awesome music, new music being released. And as a music person, someone that loves listening to music and working with different things like that, I look forward to Fridays because Fridays to me are like New Music Fridays, where everyone drops. Actually, I want to say Thursday midnight or Friday midnight, right? Yeah. So like late Thursday night, staying up and seeing like who's releasing what artists are dropping music. We've had some really cool like collaborations happen recently. Gavi is a Christian artist that he recently just dropped a new album titled Noche Juvenil, and he has a bunch of collaborations on there. Blanca dropped an album. She had collaborations with Christine de Clario. She had collaborations with Gavi, and just awesome music. And one of that we've talked about them for some time now, right? Yep. We have collaborations with Maverick City. They released their Spanish album, Como en el Cielo. Yeah. We have Elevation Worship and their, collaboration with them titled Gyra. So the music right now, it's on a rise, right? Yeah. And I think there's so many different styles that if, you like your worship and your praise, you got that. If you like your gospel, you got that. If you like your hip hop and your rap, there's something for everyone when it comes to what genre you enjoy.
Yeah, you have people like Israel also who released his album as well. He even had an old school track of Coritos from back in the day. So it looks like to me that people, took advantage of the quarantine situation and have been really working on a lot of projects because now we're kind of seeing the birth of all those things. So it's really good and something really exciting to just see what was created, what was birthed out of having so much free time in your hands, because a lot of these artists and musicians and songwriters, producers are usually like on the go, and with the whole quarantine situation they kind of put a pause on a lot of people's schedules, but I also think that as creatives or people that like to work and be on the go, what they did was just funnel that energy and that time into creating more projects and having things in the works for what's already been released and what's going to be released as well. So, we are very excited about today's episode. We have a special guest that is joining us, and we know that our conversation is going to bless you today. And we just want to go ahead and just jump right into it. So please welcome to the God Life Culture podcast, Aaron Moses. Aaron, please say hello to our listeners.
Family. We talking. We family. We talking family stuff. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited. With my coffee here, you gave me enough time to make some coffee, so
yeah. I mean, you were telling us about getting in real late and having to drive home, and all of that.
Being partially jet lagged.
I mean, man. So I've been in Redding, California, which is where Bethel is. I've been there since last Thursday. Just working on new music, writing with some of my Bethel friends, and working with some amazing producers out there. Shout out to Layel Jeff Schneeweiss, he's an amazing producer. He lives in Reading. Him and his wife, they started this studio called The Apartment, and we just been there. Me and my best friend Dante Bo, who just released a record. So you were talking about records. I was like, oh, we got to talk about Dante Bowes. We can't leave him out.
Yes,
But,
yes, for sure.
yeah, he just released a record, and my best friend Jesse, my other best friend Omar, we were just over there for a week just creating. I mean, we got like maybe 10 or 11 tracks in. It was just crazy. But
Wow.
came home last night like super late. So
Now, for those listeners out there who may not, be familiar with who you are, may not, be in tune to everything that you're doing in the music and collaborations, introduce us, to who you are. Who is Aaron Moses?
yeah. Well, Aaron Moses is just a very talented young man from New Jersey who loves the Lord and has been blessed enough to work with people like Travis Green and Willie McDowell, and now I write, lead, and produce for Maverick. So everything you've heard from Maverick, I've been producer on. So I produced all that. Yeah, I write for a lot of friends, and yeah, that's what I do. I always get weird when people ask me who I am. I'm like,
It's like you have to find a healthy medium to like
right,
be
right.
like humble bragging, be like, this
Yeah,
is who I am, but this is also what I do.
yeah, and then I think you could completely talk about what you've done and not come off as a bragger, but
Yes.
it's just not me to talk about what I've done. I guess I don't know,
No, I get it.
but it's
One
cool.
of the things I was speaking about before we started recording was our upbringing, where we come from. You're from
Yes,
Newark, New Jersey, or that, I'm from Brooklyn. Miguel grew up on Long Island his whole life. But, part of the conversations that we have on this podcast is also identifying our culture, our childhood, how that had an influence on us, when we were growing up. So, Aaron Moses today, how are you influenced by your culture and your upbringing, whether it's your Latino heritage or just being from New Jersey in itself? How has that influenced your life, your music, and, everything
yeah,
about you?
yeah. Well, I was born and raised back and forth between Newark, New Jersey, and Belleville, New Jersey. Belleville, for those who don't know where Belleville is, it's literally next door to Newark. So I would be back and forth between Newark and Belleville, kind of like as a child. And yeah, it was just I was surrounded by so many things. I was surrounded by violence, by gangs. Uh, gun gun violence, abuse. I was surrounded by all that. If you haven't heard about Newark, look it up. It's a pretty rough place, but it's such a beautiful place because it's where I learned to love everybody.
Yeah.
Walking downtown Newark, New Jersey, you're gonna see black people, you're gonna see Spanish people, you're gonna see white people, you're gonna see Asians, you're gonna see Indians. It's just like this immense place full of so many people that are different but so beautiful in their own ways. And I think that now where I am in ministry, understanding what my assignment is, uh, and understanding that I feel like I'm called to bridge the gap, not only generationally but racially. You know, um, and I could speak two language. I could speak English and I could lead in Spanish as well. And so I just feel so called to all these different people. So I don't know. Be it growing up in New Jersey and Newark had played such a big role in it. And I'm big on compassion. And when you live in Newark, your heart, you know, your heart either grows more bitter
Mm-hmm.
according to the people you're around, or your heart grows bigger. And I feel like because of the way I was raised and my family being such a God-fearing family, um, my heart was positioned to grow bigger. And yeah, I just, even in ministry now, I just have such a heart of compassion. You know, everything I do is around that. Everything I do is centered around my love for God and my compassion and love for people. saving
That's
us.
awesome. And yeah, and definitely, your past experiences and your background definitely influences who you are and what you do. And, right now, last year, and, we're still kind of going through it with this whole pandemic situation. We're talking about how, there were many people that took advantage of the quarantine and took advantage of the time to, work on music, work on their craft. And, now we're kind of seeing the fruits of that, right? The fruits of their labor. And in 2020, you released your own EP titled Here and Now. Right. So this was a moment where, obviously the world was, changing as we know it. A lot of people were suffering. There was a lot happening last year, and you decided to release music. What
Yeah.
was the message and the heart behind that project and the timing? Was that intentional? Like, what was the idea behind that?
Yeah, well, honestly, the idea behind the record came out, I would love to say that the songs came out of a very, very beautiful place, but I guess they were beautiful. I can say they were beautiful now, but then it wasn't. All the songs that you hear on the record are songs that came out of a season of crazy depression. I was maybe 2 years ago, I went through this really deep depression, to the point that I was sleeping on a couch, and I would wake up in the morning and purposely stay under the covers until the evening because I just didn't want to face the day. I didn't want to face myself. I didn't want to face the day. And in that season, I began to learn that Jesus was not so detached as I thought he was, and especially with everything going on, people's questions about God is, where is he? Like, where is he in the middle of this pandemic? And people have lost everything. Some people have lost everything: their house, their job, their money, you know, their family. People have lost people,
Yeah.
and a lot of people's questions are, where is he? Where is God? And my revelation, I know we hear it all the time, like, God is here, God is with you, he never leaves you, he never abandons you. That's knowledge, but there has to be a point in our Christianity that we mature into the belief that it's not just knowledge anymore. It turns into revelation. And I felt like in that season, my knowledge of Jesus turned into revelation. I had a revelation of who Jesus was to me. And in that season, I learned, like, oh my gosh, Jesus is not afraid of my depression. Jesus is not afraid of my circumstances. He's not afraid of my situation. That's why I wrote the song Here and Now. The song Always Good. I was actually declaring to myself that God is always good. I was reminding myself, because then, I actually didn't want to write. And Dante dragged me downstairs and said, no, we're going to write about this. You know what you're experiencing, we're going to write about it. And that's what I wrote here, Always Good. And yeah, so the EP is just, it comes from a revelation of knowing that Jesus is actually in the here, he's in the now. We always hear that Jesus is the Alpha and the Omega. God is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. But I also believe that he's right in the middle.
Yep.
He's in the beginning when you start. He's at the end when you're through the storm. But he's also on the boat with you, just as
Yeah.
disciples. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He might be silent, just like he was with the disciples on the boat, because he wanted them to know, like, hey, you don't have to fear. You don't, the same power I have, you have. The same spirit I have, you have. But they were afraid, and I think that we forget that Jesus is there in the boat with us as well. So that's where that EP came from, and it's only 3 songs because I didn't want to make it extensive. I just wanted to make it a quick thought for people to be reminded, oh yeah, he's in the
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you spoke earlier about, your friend Dante kind of being there and like dragging you out, right? And telling you like, we need to write about this. And, I think it's so important, especially, after the year we've been through and the things that, some people are still going through, that, when we talk about depression and all these things, it's a way that the enemy uses to just isolate us sometimes, right? And to keep us alone, away from people that will actually speak life into us and help us, right? And kind of, bring us to a place of understanding, like this isn't the end, this isn't going to stay this way. So my question for you is, how important is it, especially for young ministers and young worshipers out there, whether they're worshiping and ministering in their local church or on a large scale, on a large platform, how important is it for them to have a mentor?
I think mentorship is so important. I have a lot of people that I consider mentors. like a lot of people. Um, and I have mentors for different areas of my life. For music, I have many different mentors. From I would consider Israel Houghton as a mentor, and Eddie James, who was like a father to me and a mentor to me. Dante, who's a big brother to me, but I also am so inspired by his drive, by his understanding of what he's called to, of what his assignment is. Tasha, so many people that I consider, Christina Claria, so many people that I consider actual family, but they've poured into me at one point or another. It's just so important. The reason God places people like that in front of you is to show you where you're headed. You know what I mean? And it would be foolish of me not to listen to the words of the wise. Where you're headed, and the people that have trailblazed the road for you. I think it's important to hear the voice and hear. William McDowell hits me up all the time, and he's like a voice of encouragement to me, but he's also a voice of reasoning to me. And I don't know, it's just so important. We don't know everything, y'all. Like, we don't know everything. And the problem with Christians sometimes is that we're just too deep for our own good. Like, let's be honest, we're too deep for our own good. We are too deep. We think we know everything. We think we know, and really, we only know a fragmented idea of what the bigger picture really is. So I don't know. I think if you want your ministry to flourish, like the people you're being led by, and the people you're inspired by, then you need to listen to them.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely truth in what you're saying, and I think that there are a lot of reasons as to why sometimes people find it hard to not only listen to mentors but find mentors. To create those relationships, to build
Yeah.
those lines of communication as well. Because sometimes it's an issue of not wanting to take a leap of faith to build a relationship. Other times it's vulnerability and not wanting to open up, because you could be cool with somebody but not develop a relationship in which there is that ability to communicate honestly. There is that trust that is
Yes.
put in as well. So there's a lot of reasons for that to happen.
Yeah. And even biblically, we see Elijah and Elisha.
Mm-hmm.
Where Elijah, the only way Elisha is going to catch the mantle is if he positions himself.
Yeah.
If Elijah told him, you have to position yourself for the mantle. It's not like I'm going to come and look for you and give it to you. No, you got to be in position for the mantle. And mentorship is so important because that's how mantles are passed down. That's how, anointings are passed down as well. Things that you're meant to walk in. Sometimes God will require you to sit up under a mentor or a father or a mother or a leader and, teach you to be faithful in the little. I traveled with Eddie for 4 years, 3 or 4 years. And I served him for all those years. I served him. And I learned the ins and outs of the ministry and all that, with him. If I wouldn't have positioned myself for the mantle, for the anointing, I probably would have left with no knowledge. You know what I mean? But I stayed and I was faithful. So yeah, and honestly, our generation, like, sometimes it's a little scary, but sometimes it's almost like faithfulness is foreign to us. Like, we want everything how we want it, as quick as we want it. Being faithful to something for, if the Lord says, for a large period of time, that's scary to us because we want our own. We're also wired to want our own thing, to want to flourish in our own way, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it's so important too to realize that, many times we have vision, right? And we want to be somewhere. We want, a large platform. And we want to sing and want people to know our songs, or, we want to be in front of, many crowds, and we neglect the small beginnings and we neglect where we are now. Right. And I think it's so important. Like you said, you served, for years and kind of, helped someone else's vision flourish, right? And played an integral part in that. And, you served in those moments where now you see kind of the fruits of that. And you see, you learned lessons, you had experiences, you went through things where now all of those experiences are helping you in what you're doing right now in this moment. And I think it's so easy to just get caught up in the future. It's so easy to get caught up with what we want that we forget that right now in this present moment what you're doing, it's not too good for you, right?
Yeah,
It may not be what you want to be doing. It may not be what you want to be doing in the future, but what is
yeah.
God teaching you where you are right now at this moment? Because everything that he's teaching you now is what you're going to need for what he has for you in the future.
Oh yeah, and it comes to everything, and that's why I said what I said about having mentors for every area of my life. I have people that I allow pour into me about finances, because I see the fruit of their lives when it comes to how they've stewarded finances. You know, I have mentors when it comes to my marriage, because I can see the fruit. I'm gonna be honest, I don't just let anybody speak into my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got tias and stuff who ain't never been married trying to talk to me about. I be telling my aunts, like, can you stop talking to me? Like, like, talk about, but it's very important to have mentors for different areas of your life that can, because I want to grow all around, just not ministerially. Because and y'all, can we be honest? We've idolized ministry.
Yeah.
Like when the church says the word ministry, it's almost like eerie now. Like everybody's ears stand up. Like, oh, ministry. What we about to talk about? You know what I mean? But I'm a man that I want everything in my life to grow and to be blessed and to flourish. Not just ministry, which what is that anyways? But like finances, my marriage, my home, my joy, my mental health, everything. Like I want all that to flourish. So it's important to have somebody in every corner of your life to pour into, people that you trust, of course, that you can entrust,
Yeah.
personally
No.
with. But of
Yeah,
course,
absolutely. And then, you touch on a very important thing. When it comes to ministry, when it comes to the platform, there are a lot of people that see that. And there's nothing wrong with wanting it. And there's other people that see you and you're traveling and you're working with so many people doing different collaborations, like all this great stuff. But in reality, they don't see the work that gets put into it. They're not seeing you having to travel, take a red eye, get home at 3 a.m, be jet lagged, do this, do that. And there is a work that goes into ministry. There is a work that goes into your craft that is not what the general public gets to see. Maybe your wife definitely sees it. Some family and friends get to see that, but the general public don't get that inside scoop of what's going on. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like, the work, the cry, the time, the energy, the tears that goes into, working to put things out to bless other people.
man, I want to say this. To do what we do, it actually costs everything.
Yeah.
It actually costs everything. Like when you choose to pursue what I've chosen for my life because I feel called to it, it actually does cause you to entrust everything you have and count it as loss. You know, um, I made a post not too long ago about not being blindsided, by the things that come with the lifestyle that of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people love to see what we're doing. They see me in the videos, the Maverick videos, and they see me leading worship nights and traveling all around the world and, doing what I do with a beautiful wife and all that, a beautiful little puppy. I just thought I'd throw those two things in there. I, I actually don't know where I was going with that, but I just thought I would plug my wife and my little puppy. But they see what I do and they're like, oh my gosh, I want that.
Yeah.
But I posted and said, don't be naive and do what I do because of what you see. And then you find yourself blindsided by everything that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a very weighty responsibility that comes with what we do. And a very scary one at times as well, because you're called upon to speak up for some things that people might disagree with. You might be called to leading worship is only 5% of what I do. Like leading
Yeah.
worship is 5 or 10% of what I do. It really is. Think about it. We're only up on stage for maybe 30 minutes. You still have 23 hours and 30 minutes left.
Right.
So if you actually let that sink in, it's actually like, oh my gosh, there is so much more that comes with that world that actually is ignored. And it's the reason why people burn out. It's the reason why people quit and leave. You know, a lot of people have left the faith because of everything that comes with this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a serious thing. It's a sad thing. So if I can encourage the people that are aspiring to do what I do, man, first thing I will say is, what is the Lord saying? You know, what is the Lord calling you to? And if He is, then what are you willing to lose? If you will, if you are willing to say yes, have you counted the cost? And I think that would be that's my motto. Like, have you counted the cost? Count the cost
Yep.
for everything you do. You know, count the cost for everything you do, everything, every word, every conversation, every relationship built. You know, every engagement, everything. You got to count the cost for everything, because it costs something. It costs actually everything. It costs everything.
Yeah, and it's like you said, the thing that people wind up getting blindsided about because they think it's an easy thing. Oh, I have the talent, whether it is to sing, to play, to produce, to whatever, so that's enough. And when they are put to the test, they realize, oh, there's more to the story than just being talented. There is work that goes into it, and that's not even getting into the spiritual aspect of it. Because there's also a whole nother situation with the spiritual work that has to be put in as well, because it's great to have, natural talent, but then when it comes to anointing and being connected in the spirit and, being able to flow and being able to discern and all that stuff as well, there's a work. You have to build on your relationship with God as well. And I wanted to jump into something. We spoke about this a little bit when we were speaking about, your upbringing and, being in New Jersey and being around different cultures and that making you compassionate. And, one thing, the last couple of years has brought in a heightened sensitivity to culture and racial discrepancies and stuff like that, because it's been out, happening. But the reality is that because of a lot of things that have been happening the last couple of years, there's been a heightened sensitivity to it. And one of the great things about, following your ministry, and whether it was when you were working with Eddie James, the different collaborations that you made, that you've been working with, also Maverick City is seeing the cultural diversity. When you put up a video of Maverick City, for example, and you see the different races, the different people, the beautiful different shades of skin tones that are in the video, that within itself is very inspiring.
Yeah.
To see that unity, to see the people, coming together and serving God and, worshiping together, but we operate on a world, where people look at us for face value, and we are men of color. We are Latinos, and I
Yeah.
was curious about about whether or not you have ever experienced a situation where someone invited you to go minister to a place, but then when they see you, it's kind of like a weird vibe.
Um. Well, to be honest, being Latino in this place we call America is actually hard. It's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been in places where you talk Spanish and people have told you, or people have told me, "Hey, no Spanish. We're in America." You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've, I've been in that situation, and I've also been in situations where, unfortunately, I step into churches and by how I've been handled, I've felt less than. You know what I mean? I've felt like, wow, you're really looking down on me because
Mm-hmm.
you know what you are. Um, it's hard, you know. Uh, but going back to how I was raised, compassion. You know, I don't do it for them. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, it's been difficult. I think that's why doing what we're doing with Maverick now, Maverick City Espanol, is so important to me, because I'm gonna normalize Spanish worship.
Mm-hmm.
I want to further normalize it in churches all around America. It's not gonna be weird to go to church and hear two languages.
Yeah.
I want it to be normal. It's not going to be weird to go to churches and hear a 30-minute set and 10 or 15 minutes of the whole set is Spanish. You know, and even making the forefront of ministry in this country partially Spanish as well. You know what I mean? Like I just burn for my people. I love my people. We're some of the most beautiful people. You know what I mean? But we're looked down upon, because we speak a different language, and we look different. And as sad as that is, it's sad. And I have my wife is black. My daughter is black. My best friend is black. I see the injustice in that area as well. So it's something that when I start talking about, I get really emotional because it's around me and I get really upset about it. I'm one that have gotten into altercations over somebody disrespecting friends of color. I'm that dude that, like, let's not forget I'm from Newark. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's not forget. And
Yeah.
I tell it to everybody. Let's not forget where I come from. So yeah, it's hard for me. It's a hard conversation, but we're still alive and there's hope. If we're still alive, then there's hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think also just what we see, right, through these videos, and like Eddie was saying, just, the collaborations, the different skin tones and the backgrounds that everyone has, that is encouraging to see, especially within the church. Because even, sometimes we talk outside the church, right? We talk about when it comes to race and these issues. But even inside the church, sometimes we face these things and we face these harsh realities that there are people who, have these issues, right? And have this kind of like hatred in their heart and things that they really need to work out. So definitely through your worship and through these visuals that we have been getting and receiving, I think that alone, is opening the door for the conversation and is creating opportunities and, letting people know that this is something that, like you said, should be normalized, right? And there's power when it comes to that. And, I know a part of the Maverick City, team, it's not just, like you said, it's a team, right? You have people that sing, you have people that, play the instruments, and, you also have songwriters. I know you yourself are a songwriter. You've collaborated with people to write songs with them. I often see sometimes, Maverick City hosts these, Spanish camps. I believe they host like writing camps and things like that. So what does the songwriting process look like for you? Like when you're going to write a song, when you're going to, work on a new project, when you're away, right, in a different state or something, kind of, what does that songwriting process look like for you?
Honestly, it looks different every time. Be Praised was my first song that I released through Maverick, and it was a pretty big release, which I'm pretty blessed by, and amazed by. That was written at my church in about 30 minutes. Me, Dante, and my friend Joel wrote that pretty quickly. Most of the time, it looks like a co-write. I think I enjoy collaboration when it comes to songwriting. Other times, it's just me at my house late at night, like the song "God of Midnight." I started that song at 1 a.m. in my apartment, and was just saying whatever came to my heart, and I just freestyled the whole verse and chorus pretty much. Verse and pre-chorus and chorus. I pretty much freestyled it in my house, really just working through it. And so it looks different, but I would say most of the time I'm writing what really, really matters to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that, we do see how a lot of times we use, whether it's our current situation, what we're going through at the moment, how we're feeling in the moment as well, to serve as an inspiration to put pen to paper, put fingers to keyboards or whatever, to then create something. And I think that especially when, we develop everybody has their own way of communicating with God. a lot of people, especially creative people, do it through their arts and through their talents.
Yeah.
So when you are a songwriter or you're a singer or a musician, sometimes just sitting at a keyboard or just sitting in front of a notebook or whatever, all of a sudden you just begin to share how you're feeling to God, and it develops into
Yeah.
this song or this melody. And we see that a lot as well. But I did want to, there's something that about 10 years ago, maybe, I started to hear a lot, which was the concept or the phrase of spontaneous worship. Like, I don't know if maybe, I'm pretty sure before that it was a thing, but I know that it became this thing, especially in like recorded music as well, where you would have these moments of spontaneous worship. So number one, what I want you to do, if you can, is your opinion on defining what spontaneous worship is. But then I also wanted to know as well was, what is there a right way to do it?
What all spontaneous worship is just an overflow of a personal conversation you've already been having with the Lord.
Yeah.
So on the platform, when I begin to sing, for example, Be Praised. After Be Praised, the last chorus is be praised forever and always.
Mm-hmm.
And now I started singing, that's how long you're worthy, so that's how long I'll give you praise. That's how long, and that just came out of me. That's spontaneous.
Yes.
That was a conversation I had already been having with the Lord in my secret time with Him, telling Him, man, you're worthy. Like, you're actually always worthy. There's actually never a time that you're not. Even in the wilderness, even in the storm, even in our circumstances, even in my highs, even in my lows, you're actually still worthy. And it don't
Yes.
matter. And that was a private conversation I was having with the Lord already. And that's spontaneous. The spontaneous song of your heart, the things that your heart just randomly wants to tell the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Spontaneous, as opposed to what prophetic is. Because people
Yeah.
try mixing them both.
Yeah, so but I think that's an important thing to also distinguish. So you've spoken about what spontaneous worship is. Now you open the door to prophetic worship, which is what?
Yeah, prophetic worship is just a declaration that the Holy Spirit wants to make through you, like in the moment.
Yeah.
So I'll go from spontaneous, telling the Lord how I feel about Him, and then He in return speaks to us, and then whatever I feel or hear Him speak to us, I begin to release that.
Yes.
And I think even prophetic, He will give you words of knowledge for somebody in the room, or for the generation, or for somebody a week down the road that might hear the video that you don't know about, but He does. That's what makes it prophetic worship, when you begin to prophesy and speak what the Lord has given you. And I teach every time I teach a workshop, I try teaching the students, like, we're modern day prophets. We're just singing, we just sing. We don't stand on a mountain, like the prophet Jeremiah or like the prophet Daniel. Like, we don't stand on a mountain and declare, thus saith the Lord. We stand on a stage with a mic and sing what the Lord is saying over us. And we prophesy that way. We're just singing prophets. So we got to be equipped to do both.
Yeah. And I think it's important in that conversation, to highlight the fact that all of these things really only happen when you have that connection with the Lord, right? That when you have that, that connection and that relationship with the Lord, where in those moments where you are ministering, right, these things, it happens naturally, right? Like, it's not something that you need to kind of like force out, or something that you need to almost schedule, right? But when you have that personal intimacy with the Lord, right, like you said, this is a reflection of conversations you have already had with God, right? And moments of, of talking to Him, and in your private time, in your private worship, right? And now it's being, like you said, brought forth in this moment. So I just think it's important, for people and our listeners, to realize that when you see, Maverick City doing what they do, when you see Aaron doing what he does and working with the people he does, again, there is the physical work ethic that you need to have, right? That focus, that drive, but there also is that spiritual connection that is the foundation of, everything that we ultimately do. And that's where all these things, spring out of, right? That's the fountain that kind of, drives us and
Right.
pushes us forward. And sometimes I think there are those that try to do what you do, or try to do or replicate what other people are doing in other worship teams and things like that, and they forget the element, that's that foundation, which is that
Yeah.
personal connection where everything flows out of. You recently, you mentioned that you have a wife, you're a newlywed, and I know that there are many people, right, that may be listening that are currently waiting for their spouse, right, for the one, like they say, and they may need a word of encouragement when it comes to finding their love. So what would you say as a word of advice, right, to those people who may be single, who are struggling to find the person that they want to spend the rest of their life with?
That's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
I don't want to say something that's gonna make somebody really get married and then
Based on your experience.
Man, honestly, I was when I started dating my wife, I was actually at a place where I was over being the you know what they say about musicians, and we date around and do all the, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
we already got this negative connotation, which I hate, because musicians are some of the best. I know some of the best musicians. They're some of the best people. We just real. People hate real. You know what I mean? But us
Yeah.
we're just real. But anyways, I was at a place where I didn't want to like keep dating around and doing all that. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a season to be by myself. And I just felt like when I took some time to really, really be okay with myself and who I was and who the Lord called me to be, and in my relationship with the Lord, I felt like I was clear-minded enough to see who my wife to me was then. Like as soon as I met her, I knew. As soon as we met, we knew, and I know that may not be everybody's story, but that's mine.
Right.
And I think the reason I knew was because I was actually clear-minded and open-handed. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't out here with 5 girlfriends and trying to, you know what I mean? Like I was clear-minded. I was empty and open-handed. And for somebody who's trying to find love, like I think it might be around you. It might be somebody you know already. I just think that you have to be open-handed and empty-handed and allow the Lord to, bring before you, who's for you. And that might not be the time yet,
Yep.
If we want to just be honest, it might not be time. But I think when it is, you'll know it. And when you find that person, I think you'll know it. We always got this weird, cool intuition. My best advice though is listen to the people around you. Now, don't be one of those ones that be like, "Oh, yeah, I feel this," and everybody's like,
Run.
you evaluate that. You need to evaluate that. I'm not saying that that's always the case and that's always right, but I am saying like, a veces tu madre sabe más que tú. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a lot of times your mother knows better than you do. A lot of times your father knows better than you do. Sometimes your best friends know. That's why they're there. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I would pay attention to who's around you. What are they saying? What are they suggesting? And yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's especially important also when it comes to like timing. It may not necessarily be that they're telling you that's not the right person. It just
Right.
may be an advice of, all right, you just need to cool it down a little bit, be more patient or whatever, because sometimes you may find the right person, you may connect greatly, but because you start making bad decisions or you start rushing certain processes, it's kind of like you're messing it up. So that's why it's always important to have
Yeah.
people in your circle who have your best interest in mind, that also have your ear, so that if they see something you don't, or they realize something that they want to bring to your attention, it is important to have that team,
Yeah.
that friend, that
Yeah.
safety net, to like guide you as well, because and that goes hand in hand with everything. It goes in hand with relationships, with ministry,
Yeah.
with anything, to
Yeah.
being able to have a team of people, or not even a team, one or two people, that can be people that are your soundboard, that that you trust their advice, you trust what they have to
Yes,
say, and that you take it to heart as well.
yes. And sometimes the truth is, this is a hard truth, but the truth is, sometimes you're able to see more from the outside than you are from the inside.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you can attest to that, but sometimes I have friends that are looking from the outside in and saying, no, this is what's actually going on. But because you think you're really on the inside out, you're like, no, that ain't how it is. They're like this, they're like that. No, sometimes there are cases that the people around you can see more than what you can see. So I would just trust. I would just have good friends around, good family around that you can trust. And dating, dating and getting married and all that, that's like the second biggest decision you can make of your life. The first one is
Yeah.
to accept Jesus, and the second one is, who are you getting married to? Because that matters, especially when you're doing what we do when it comes to ministry and all that. Man, it matters. The kind of wife you have matters. I would have not been able to be gone a week if my wife wasn't understanding of who I am and what I do. I was gone since last Wednesday, y'all. My wife graciously let me. So, like, for real, that's a real thing. You gotta watch and know. Don't just get into stuff because you can.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, I hope our listeners really took everything that you said, and they're going to reflect on it later, because it's definitely a lot of truths that you shared with us, which we're so appreciative of. Our last question that we like to always end the podcast with, since this is called the God Life Culture podcast, we want to ask you, how has God used collaboration in worship to impact your life personally and also the culture around you?
How has God used collaboration? Honestly, where we are in the world and where we are in America, collaboration is what gave me hope to know that things could actually change.
Mm-hmm.
If I can be honest, when all this George Floyd and Breonna Taylor stuff happened, I was so hurt and began to grow bitter. A lot of artists and people won't be honest with that, but I can, because I'm from Newark, New Jersey. I gotta be honest. Yeah, but I'm telling you, I'm gonna always go back to that. If I can be honest, I was beginning to grow bitter. I was beginning to grow angry with, let's just be honest, the white communities that chose to shut up, and just a lot of things that I was seeing that was making me grow angry and bitter and wanting me to actually separate myself from a lot of the things that I'm a part of. But
Yeah.
collaboration, especially in my Maverick community, and being married to a Black woman, and just seeing collaboration in so many different areas of my life. In Maverick, we had Naomi, who's Black, Dante, Chandler, they're Black, and then we got MJ, who's Indian, and then we got me, Spanish. Seeing that gave me hope to believe, like, oh no, we're gonna see a change, and it's gonna happen with us. And honestly, this year, that is what really kept me going. Seeing what I see in my community and collaborating the way we do in our community, it's giving me hope. It's giving me hope and a different set of eyes to see, through the lenses of what Jesus wants to see in America. So
No, and I think it's important. It's also evident. It's something that you started the episode talking about, which is bridging the gap, as well. And it's difficult for us to navigate the world, because we are not only people of faith and Christian, but people of color as well. Or even if you're, a white person from wherever who has relationships and friends and connections with people of color as well, you take on that hurt as well. You feel the same things that they feel as well, the injustices and all the negativity. But we also need to understand and be wise and allow the Holy Spirit to guide us in, walking by faith, also walking by compassion, also trying to, show people how to bridge those gaps as well, which is difficult, because, you're from Newark, I'm from Brooklyn. Sometimes you just want to pop off, but sometimes you have to allow God to be like, all right, Lord, I need you to hold me and to help me through this. Because even though I want to, pop off or say something or react, God, I need you to really give me the wisdom to know how to effectively address the issue.
Yeah, and that was me. I think that I was vocal through the whole thing, especially Maverick. We're a very, 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 very vocal community because we feel we're supposed to. We feel called to it. So we've been vocal with all of that stuff, and just with the Holy Spirit's help, allowing that not to become not to be released from a place of anger.
Yeah.
But from a place of, yo, we got to see it. Like, yeah, it was just a lot that was happening. That's my answer. I just seeing how God has used this community to really show me what we want to see.
We've reached the end of the episode, but as always, we like to give our guests an opportunity to share whatever they have in their heart to share, whether it's something that they feel like God is talking to them, asking them to share, or a project maybe you have coming up that you can give details about. So Aaron, what do you want to take this moment to talk about?
I would like to encourage everybody. It was told to me this week and I want to share it. It's just a simple phrase, but keep it on the front of your heart, on the front of your mind. Wear it on your sleeves. Love with everything. Love people with everything. I think that's something I want to leave everybody here with. The foundation of the earth was love. That should be the foundation of everything we do. Loving people. So I just want to encourage people who are listening. Love with everything. Love will overcome fear. Love will overcome doubt. Love will overcome restlessness. Love will overcome depression. Love will overcome bitterness. Love will overcome anger, anguish. Love overcomes everything. So I just want to encourage everybody who's listening to love with everything. Don't just love with a little bit, but love with everything.
That is awesome. So listeners, definitely, take those notes, read them, reflect on this episode, reflect on everything that, Aaron has shared with us. Aaron, if you could just please let us know where we can find you on social media and where we can follow you.
Yeah. So on Instagram, you can find me, Aaron Moses Official. I don't really use Facebook like that. I try to keep it pretty Instagram full. But
Cool. So definitely be sure to go follow him and stay tuned to everything that he has coming up, both with Maverick City and also just what he's doing and where he's going and all of that. Definitely sending your prayers as well. So Aaron, we want to say thank you so much for being with us today and for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you so much, guys. It was such an honor to talk with you guys, and I feel like I'm home. I feel like I'm home talking to y'all.
Awesome. I mean, definitely be sure to follow Aaron, subscribe, to everything that he's doing, stream his music, download the music, support, and definitely be sure to follow our podcast on Instagram at God Life Culture. Subscribe, review, rate, do all of that. We are grateful for the support.
Yeah, we're thankful, Aaron, for you for taking out your time, especially with the schedule that you have to be on the podcast with us. We are grateful. So we definitely encourage our listeners to follow, subscribe, download, purchase his music, his stuff, everything that he's doing as well. You can find here and now on any of your music platforms. All the Maverick City stuff that he's worked on, you can find that as well. And even take a deep dive and look for all the older stuff that Aaron has worked on and produced and sang on and played on, and support, because as people of God, we should be lifting each other up. And that also means supporting one another's ministry. So we want to thank you guys for tuning in to the latest episode of the God Life Culture podcast. That's
God Life Culture.
Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.